Well, hi there. So in this practice video, we're going to do two practice AP questions related to the Phillips curve. So let's get started. Okay, so we're going to first take a look at number one. Assume the expected inflation rate is 3, current is 4, current unemployment is 4, and the natural rate is 5. So an important thing to note here is that we are not at full employment, right? We're currently below full employment. We're in an expansion. So I'm just going to kind of write that to myself as a reminder. And that says, at right, draw a correctly equal graph of the short run and the long run curves, label the current as a point X, and plot the numerical values. And I even gave you that hint right there that says this economy is not at full employment. So we're going to first draw inflation and unemployment rate. And first SRPC comes down, does one of those. And there we got that. And it tells us to label where we are. An expansion would be up here. We're always going to be on an SRPC. And we label it as point X. And then it says use the numbers. And so the expected inflation rate is where these two connect. So that's going to be 3. Then the current unemployment rate is 4. And the natural rate is 5. So that gets us where our numbers are. Then next question says, is the actual inflation rate greater than, less than, or equal to the expected inflation rate? Well, the actual inflation rate is right here. Actual. We can go back to our lecture notes and see that, but the actual inflation rate is above 3. So we would say greater than 3%. And assume loans were made taking into account that expected inflation rate. Will the lenders be better off, worse off, or the same? They will be worse off because price levels increased. Therefore, we can say the real interest rate on their loans went down. So it really just shrunk the amount of real interest that they could earn. D, based on the relationship between actual and expected inflation rates identified in part A, which I guess is that this is greater. What will happen to the natural rate of unemployment in the long run? The 5% number, that doesn't change. So this, no change to natural, no change to natural rate of unemployment. Almost always, we're never going to end up changing the natural rate. Assume the economy of Germany has an actual unemployment rate of 7%, a natural unemployment rate of 5, and an actual inflation rate of 1. So we're giving us similar data to last time, but not quite. So it's going to say, draw that thing. Let's draw this bad boy out. Let's see what we got. Downward sloping SRPC. And a vertical LRPC. And it does tell us the actual unemployment rate is 7 and the natural is 5. So that tells me that we are here at 7. So we are in a recession. And the actual inflation rate is 1%. 1%. So that gets us to kind of the beginning of this problem. And it does say label the current short run as point B. So there's point B. Identify a fiscal action that could be used to fix this. Well, how could we reduce the unemployment rate? Well, we could cut taxes. Maybe we could increase government spending, or we could increase transfers. But we've got 3 possible answers that we could use there. All of those would increase aggregate demand and move us back up to there, to that dot in the middle. Assume the German government doesn't do nothing. They do nothing as the economy self-adjusts to the long-run equilibrium. So this is a concept from 7.2. I believe it's in 7.2. What will happen as this economy happens? Now, it didn't ask us to graph it, but I'm going to show it to you, what's going on over here. What's going on over here is we've got SRAS, AD, and we are in a recession. Whoa, that was kind of a wonky LRAS, right? We are in a recession. And because we're in this recession, if we leave this economy to its own, eventually the workers will begin to accept lower wages. There's high unemployment at this Y1, right? 7 versus 5. We know there's high unemployment. So the workers will begin to accept lower wages. As that occurs, SRAS will shift to the right and the economy will close back to the gap. So we would be basically going from B to A is kind of what this question's asking. Now, so we would say shifts to the right to answer the question, shifts right, because they do ask us, like, what shifts, right? Right, left, stay the same. Shifts right because workers, we're going to kind of summarize what I just said here, workers accept lower wages. And we want to connect that a little bit more. Workers accept lower wages, therefore resource costs fall. And that really just drives it home that's why the SRAS is increasing, is because it's actually cheaper to produce, right? Then the long run Phillips curve is the natural rate of unemployment, right? The natural rate of unemployment, which is, so this is the same question, no change. as what we had just a moment ago up here. No change to the natural rate of unemployment. There's no change to that long run Phillips curve. The short run would change. But that's not what this question's asking necessarily, this part anyways. D, show the effect of the self-adjustment on your graph in part A. There is where it's asking it. So we are going to show SRPC shifts, well, if we said shifts right, if SRAS was right, then SRPC shifts left, right? So I'm just kind of making sure that I remember to do that correctly. We're going to move this curve, and it's got to be down pretty far to be able to get us to close that gap. So SRPC, and I am going to say we're going to move to point A, just to put a point on there. I guess you could call it point C or something like that, but it doesn't ask for a point. But that shift needs to be shown as a shift inward up here on part D, right? So the shift is from D, is part D. So hopefully that helped you with kind of doing that. One trick that a lot of people do have is, or one trouble that people have, is they don't quite shift their SRPC enough. They'll get it to like right here, and then they'll put their dot here. That's not the correct place. It does need to be down and to the left. We do need to show the inflation rate falling and to show the unemployment rate going back to a lower level. All right, so hopefully this helped you with the basic concepts related to the Phillips curve and how we shift it and how we slide along it. I'll see you next time.